but I had struck up a friendship with then Senator Obama when he was a U.S. Senator from Illinois, and we'd worked together on some transportation issues. And I like to tell people that I believe this. I believe that President Obama does believe in bipartisanship. I'm an example of it. After he was elected, his staff called me and invited me to come to an interview in Chicago and offered me this extraordinary privilege to have a front row seat on continuing to watch history in our country and be a little bit a part of history. And the President, during the 21 months that I have been in this job, continues to reach out to Republicans. I think he will do that. I think he realizes that's the only way that we get things done here in Washington. I think there's probably 2 or 3 opportunities over the next several months after the new Congress gets sworn in. I think if people are serious about the deficit and the debt Commission obviously is going to come out with some very, very significant recommendations, and I think the President will take them seriously, and I think the leaders in Congress will too. I think in part, you all know that's what the election was about. And I think the President is willing to roll up his sleeves and sit down with the new leadership of Congress and really work hard on this idea of how do we really begin to pay down our debt and really make a difference and look at these recommendations in a very serious way. So I think that's one area. I think another area where the President wants to work with Congress in a bipartisan way is on transportation issues. When I was in the House 14 years, serving on the Transportation Committee for 6 years, I was a part of a Congress, as was Denny. Mike Ferguson was there too. We passed 2 transportation bills. Both of those bills in the House passed with over 300 votes. Transportation has never been a partisan issue. And I can guarantee you this, the President's not going to make it a partisan issue, and I don't believe the leaders of Congress will either, particularly given the fact that in transportation you can actually put people to work, you can put money out there in all different sectors of transportation, and you can really begin to jumpstart the economy. In the Senate, on consideration of both of those bills, over 80 senators voted for those bills. So I think transportation can be a real conduit, a bridge between the President and the leaders of Congress in terms of getting a bill. Now, we're operating on a bill that has gone almost beyond 2 years, and there's a pent-up demand in the country. In this job, I have been to probably over 100 cities in 40 states talking about the stimulus bill, where we received $48 billion, and I can tell you people are working in transportation jobs, resurfacing roads, bridges, and other projects. And I think there can be a bipartisan opportunity here. So I think on the budget, I think on deficit reduction, I think on transportation, I think there's a lot of light at the end of the tunnel on all 3 of these. I think the President will also get support from the new leadership in Congress and the new members in the House on what's going on in Afghanistan. I think if you look at the rhetoric about that, I think there's very strong support in a bipartisan way for our troops and what we're trying to do there. So this idea that there aren't any issues or there aren't any opportunities, I think there are on some very significant issues. And there may be others, but those are the ones that come to mind immediately. And so I think you'll see the President, he's already reached out to the leadership, invited them to the White House to talk about the lame duck and what can be done there. But more importantly, to have a big vision, a big view. And I think the President does have a big view on transportation. One other thing I just want to talk about very quickly, and that's high-speed rail. Those of you that have been to Europe and Asia and ridden on the high-speed rail, and I think most of you have, come back to our country and say, why don't we have it in our country? And it's because we've never made the investment. We just haven't. Well, the President and the Vice President do have a big view on this, and there aren't many conflicts about it, really. They put $8 billion in the stimulus bill, and we've put that money out around the country, in California, in the Midwest, in Florida, on the Northeast Corridor, to really jumpstart our opportunities for high-speed intercity rail. And I can tell you this, again, there's a lot of enthusiasm and energy for high-speed rail. Now, in some places, people think it's not high speed enough. Some people think it's too slow. You know, we're going to have those disagreements. But in the end, our plan, our big plan is that over the next 25 years, we're going to connect 80% of America. This is not dissimilar to where we were at with the interstate system. We have a state-of-the-art interstate system built with the Highway Trust Fund because Eisenhower had a big view of this. And subsequent Congresses over 50 years stuck with the plan, and now we're the envy of the world when it comes to the interstate program. And we're also the envy of the world when it comes to our freight rail system. We have a state-of-the-art freight rail system, and we have begun to put some resources into our freight rail because we don't have enough money to build all the infrastructure for high-speed rail. We're going to need the freight rails, and so we put more than $500 million into our freight rail system to fix up the tracks so we can get to higher speeds. We know we're going to have to use some of the freight rail. If you look at the plan in the Midwest, it's a 6-state plan. It connects the Midwest, and again, there's a lot of enthusiasm for this. We're going to have a rail line from Chicago that stops in Joliet, Normal, Springfield, and goes to St. Louis in about 2.5 hours once that project is completed. That's a good plan, and it connects the other states also along the Northeast Corridor. Eventually, we'll have a rail line from Canada all the way to Florida, and we'll connect the south and southwest. So it's a good plan. In California, they're going to actually build new infrastructure, and they'll have trains running 220 miles per hour, the length of the state. Think of all the cars that will take off the road. It's the congestion and so forth. So it's a good plan, a good vision, and it has very bipartisan support. So why don't I stop there and see what any of you would like to talk about or any issues you'd like to raise. You know, I haven't, you know, one of my passions has been distracted driving, and you've, I think, heard our lecture on that, but it's a very important safety issue for us. As Jim knows, you can take on these safety issues at DOT and really make a difference, and each secretary has really done that. And our signature safety issue, I believe, is distracted driving, because we think we can save a lot of lives and a lot of injuries if people will put down their cell phones and BlackBerries while they're driving, which is now illegal in 30 states.